Hello everyone, it's me, Dr. Gyanendra Prasad, resident of MD Radio Diagnosis teachers. Today we are going to have interaction about the cardiac imaging, and we will have brief overview about the heart borders, and the pulmonary vessels, and the great vessels, and the main pathologies. Radiological approach and principle of the heart. Chest X-ray. This is the initial evaluation of cardiac condition. And next is the echocardiography. This is useful screening technique, and this is mainly important for real-time imaging of the heart. Other investigations are also there. They are CT and MRI. These are only for special purposes. Now for imaging of the heart, we select for the PA view of the chest. We select PA view because this reduces the magnification of the heart, which occurs in AP view of the heart. And this also reduces radiation dose to the radiosensitive parts of the body like thyroid and eyes. And this first is the PA view of the chest, and second is the AP view. And we can see that in comparison to the AP view, the PA view gives more accurate dimension and shape of the heart, while in AP view, due to more anterior position of the heart is relatively enlarged, so this can give false assumption of the cardiomegaly. Now, mediastinum and heart. We can see in this PA view, this is the central dense shadow. This central dense shadow is formed by the mediastinum, and this inferior mediastinum, this shadow is formed by the heart. All the borders of the heart and the mediastinum are clearly defined, except the inferior border of the heart, which is with the diaphragm. We can see all this on this X-ray. The transverse diameter of the heart is about 14 to 15 centimeter, and we can measure on this chest X-ray. There is a magnification written on the inferior or over the superior indicator of the X-ray, or there is usually 3/4 ratio. So it is only represents about 3/4, and this indices can be used to calculate the actual dimension of the chest and the heart. So don't get false assumption that the chest X-ray dimension gives the exact dimension of the portion on the real. So we have to search. We have to also look for the magnification ratio of the chest X-ray, which is written on the over the superior inferior border of the chest X-ray. Now let's have a brief overview of the structure of the heart and the relating borders and the structures. First, this is the PA view. On PA view, we have to look for the heart borders, chambers, and the blood vessels. Let's see about the great chambers, both chambers of the heart. This right side convexity, this border is formed by the right atrium, and similarly this inferior border is formed by the right ventricle, and similarly the left atrium and right ventricle are comparatively posterior in comparison to the right chamber of the heart. This is the border formed by the left ventricle, and this is the border, or it is only partially visible. Left atrium is partially visible here, and similarly it is posterior to the other chamber. So left atrium is only visible when there is enlargement of the left atrium, and we will be discussing later. And let's compare this X-ray with the pictorial view. This is the right atrium, and this is the right ventricle. This is the left ventricle, and this is the left atrium with the appendage. And now look for the great vessels and the aorta, which arises from the left ventricle, and this is the shadow of the aortic knuckles, and we can see here how this emerges from the left side of the heart. Similarly, now look for the pulmonary vessel. The pulmonary vessel emerges from the right ventricle, and it proceeds, and from there it goes towards the right side, and it branches into three branches. Initially two major branches, right branch and the left branch. The left branch gives two divisions for upper and lower lobes of the left lung. Similarly, right pulmonary artery gives three branches, superior, middle, and inferior branches from the respective lobes of the three lobes of the right lung. Now, the borders of the heart and the corresponding lobar anatomy of the lungs. On the right side, there are 3 lobes of the lungs, and similarly, on left side, there are 2 lobes of the lungs. From the upper to lower portion, this is the border is formed by the upper lobe, and especially middle lobe and the lower lobes of the right lung. Similarly, on the left side, the upper ciliate is upper left cardiac ciliate is formed by the left upper lobe, and lower lobe forms the ciliate with the apex of the heart. And the ciliate is ciliate. Now, what's about the ciliate sign? When this border relation of the lungs and the heart is lost, then this is known as ciliate sign. Don't get confused with the ciliate and the ciliate sign. Ciliate is this relation is the ciliate. When the ciliate is lost, then this is known as ciliate sign. Now let's have about the overview of the mediastinum. There are 2 mediastinum, superior and inferior mediastinum. This is marked by at the level of the manubrium sternum and the body of sternum. This is sternal angle. And similarly, inferior mediastinum is divided into 3 parts: anterior, middle, and posterior, on the basis of relation to the anterior pericardium and posterior pericardium. Now, this is the lateral view of the chest, and we have to be very precise while reading the lateral chest theme, because we are very less acknowledged about this. First, we have to search about the heart. This is the shadow marked by the cardiac chambers and the pericardium overlying the heart, and this is the mirror image. So don't get confused. Here is the apex, and here is the apex, and in front of the heart there is the one retroexternal space. Similarly, behind the heart there is also one space. This is retrocardiac space. This is gray. They impart gray because there is no dense structure overlying this. And similarly, we have to also look for the other structures in relation to the heart. They are the trachea and the bifurcation of the trachea. This is 2 major bronchus. Similarly, behind this there is the esophagus, and we will be discussing the other structure in the lateral slides. And we have to look for the diaphragm, the relation of the heart with the diaphragm. This is the diaphragm, and this is the inferior portion of the heart, base of the heart. And similarly, these are the vertebra and the spines. This is the sternum, this is anterior, this is posterior, this is anterior, this is posterior. Now, let's have about the chamber. The right chamber of the heart are comparatively anterior in respect to the left chamber of the heart, while atrium are superior in respect to the ventricle of the heart. So this is right ventricle. Look for the right ventricles just behind the chest, and so while left ventricle is completely behind in respect to the right ventricle. Similarly, left atrium is posterior in respect to the right atrium, and from the right ventricles we see there emerges the pulmonary artery. Similarly, from the left ventricle there emerges the great arc. This is the arch of aorta. Now let's have the revision about the lateral view of the chest. Then I will recall the structure. This anteriorly is the right ventricles, and this is the right atrium. Similarly, this inferiorly is the left ventricle, and superior to the left ventricle is the left atrium. Always take in the mind that the right chambers of the heart are completely anterior in comparison to the left chamber of the heart, while atrium is superior in comparison to the ventricle of the heart. This is right ventricle, this is left ventricle, this is right atrium, this is left atrium. And so always get in sense that the left atrium is the most posterior chamber of the heart, and this is very important while studying about the pathology related to in which the left atrium is enlarged, and you shall be able to note the differences in the lateral and PE view of the chest about the left atrium. It is very important and very difficult to note about the structural changes associated with the left atrium. And now about the great vessels in the air tract in lateral view. Here we can see the pulmonary artery is bifurcating into the right and the left. We can also see this is the left and this is the right. Right pulmonary artery is superior, left pulmonary artery is inferior. And similarly, the pulmonary veins, opening of the pulmonary veins here. And similarly, you can see the airways. The airways here we can see the airways bifurcation of the trachea. Now the walls of the heart. For localizing the walls of the heart, we have to take two imaginary lines. On the PA view, take line from the left hilum from the up to the level of the right cardiophrenic angle. Superiorly to this is the aortic valve, and inferiorly to this mitral valve. This is very important for localizing the calcification which occurs in the different cardiac pathology and the rheumatic heart disease. Similarly, in lateral view, we can also draw imaginary line from which extends from the apex of the heart and the carina. And above this is the aortic valve, and inferior to this is the mitral valve. There is also one consensus to draw the horizontal line to separate these aortic valves from the pulmonary valves and the mitral valve and tricuspid valve. But at least keep in sense that the aortic valve is superior to this line and the mitral valve is inferior to the lines. It is very essential. Now, cardiothoracic ratio. The cardiothoracic ratio is the maximum transfer diameter of the heart. For calculating the maximum diameter of the heart, we have to take an image line from the midline, that is from the spinous process of the vertebra. Then take maximum diameter on the right side. Similarly, maximum dimension of the heart on the left side. Then you get summation of the A and B. And also we have to calculate the maximum transverse thoracic diameter and get the ratio of this summation of the cardiac diameter A plus B by C. And this diameter should be less than 50% in PA view. In AP view, the dimension is comparatively larger. So the normal reference value is up to 16% is taken as normal reference, while in PA view it is 50%. And always keep in the mind about the PA view, which is the routing view for the heart. It is always less than 50%. When the ratio is increased above this, then this is known as cardiomegaly. There are various causes of cardiomegaly, either pericardial effusion or cardiac enlargement. We will be discussing later. Now, superior mediastinal shadow. This is very important to localize above the heart. The vessels which arise from the heart in the branches, great vessel of the in the superior mediastinum. Just keep in mind about the aortic arch of aorta and the superior vena cava and the subclavian artery which arise from the superior vena cava. And this from the shadowing on the superior mediastinum. Don't get messed up with the other structure. Always keep in mind about there is the place for the descending aorta, and this is the shadow of the superior vena cava. Similarly, this is the shadow of the aortic knuckle from the outside of aorta, and this is the pulmonary artery. And there is a concavity. This concavity is known as outer pulmonary window, and there are many pathology are associated with this outer pulmonary window. Always, this is also a very important structure. Always keep in mind this outer pulmonary window is formed between the arch of aorta and the shadow formed by the left pulmonary artery. Now, ila. The ileal shadow on each side is mainly by pulmonary vessels. Of the pulmonary vessels, the pulmonary artery forms more than 90%, contribute to the more than 90% of the shadow. The left pulmonary artery arises superiorly in comparison to left pulmonary artery. So left ila is superior in comparison to the right ila. Now, pulmonary vessels. Always focus on the structure I am focusing. There are many things to learn, so you won't be mess up with multiple things. On pulmonary vessels, we have already discussed about the right pulmonary vessel is inferior to the left pulmonary vessel. So left ila is superior in comparison to the right ila. And for pulmonary vessels, one thing is very important, that is the measurement of the right pulmonary descending artery. When the right pulmonary descending artery is less than 15 millimeter, it is normal. When it is above 16 or 17 millimeter, it is known as prominent right pulmonary descending artery. And this is very important in case of venous congestion of the pulmonary hypertension. Keep in mind that right pulmonary artery, the descending branch of right pulmonary artery value should be less than 15 or 16 with respect to the sex. And we also one thing to keep in mind is the effect of gravity on the pulmonary vessels. When in erect position, the gravity acts so there is more vascular prominence on vessel portion of the lungs in respect to the apex of the heart. So there is lower lobes of the vessels are larger than the upper lobes. So don't take it as a pathology. Now, pulmonary vascular pattern. The pulmonary vascular pattern can be divided into three zones: middle, intermediate, and the lateral zone. and this is only artificial for artificial assumption, because we can by this we can see that there is gradual tapering of the pulmonary vessels from the hilar region to the periphery of the lungs. So we can also see there is larger vessels tapering like tree branches, and similarly from superior to inferior, we can see from superior to inferior there is gradual increase in the vascular prominences. We can see minor, there is only minor substructural vascular inner branches. Similarly, there is intermediate type, and we can see there is more prominent. Don't take it as a pathology. Never, it's not a pathology, it's a normal anatomy while in erect position. Now, general principles and approach of the cardiac imaging. For the systemic evaluation of the heart, first we have to know about the situs and position of the heart. Now, then cardiac size and chamber enlargement, followed by the status of great cardiac vessels and status of pulmonary vasculature and pericardium and the other abnormalities. We have already said about the overview of the different structure in the heart. Now we are proceeding for more detailed in systematic evaluation in the approach. And first is the cardiac position in situs. Normally the heart, two-thirds of the heart is toward the left side, and the cardiac is also pointing to cardiac apex is also pointing toward the left side. So this is normal or levocardia. Second is the dextrocardia, in which the major portion of the heart is towards the right side, and the apex is also pointing toward the right side. Then mesocardia. Mesocardia is intermediate type. It can lie on the midline. So there is no clear cut to define ority on right side or left side, and the apex is also on the midline. So it's from mesocardia. Now cardiac position, dextrocardia and dextroposition. On dextroposition, the cardiac apex points toward the left side. The cardiac apex is pointing toward the left side, while the bulk of the cardiac tissue is on the right side. So this is dextroposition of the heart. Now situs. For situs, we always take for the status of the arterial or great vessels, because the arterial situs is usually concordant with the visceral situs. So this is very important when there is a change in the position of the chambers, when there is dextroposition, when dextrocardia. So always take about the status of the arterial situs, and these are usually concordant with the visceral status. So this is very important. Then situs solutus. Situs solutus is when the right chamber of the heart toward the right side and the left chamber of the heart toward the left side. So this is situs solutus. This is normal. Now situs inversus. When the situs inversus occurs when the right chamber of the heart is towards the left side of the heart, and left chamber of the heart towards the right side of the heart. So this is situs inversus. And situs ambiguous. When in situs ambiguous, we cannot accurately say where the right chambers of the heart are. Right chambers may be anywhere, or left chamber is anywhere. There is no clear-cut relation of the chambers in the locations. So this is ambiguous and will be puzzled. So it is termed situs ambiguous. And we can also see the position of the other viscera, like liver. There is also no clear-cut where the viscera is more toward the midline. Similarly, while in situs inversus, there is inversion of the heart. Also, with the other structures, like the liver is on the left side and is on the right side. So this is situs inversus. Along with the heart, other viscera are also inverses. So this is situs inversus, and this is situs ambiguous. We will be puzzled about, we cannot define the different position. Now cardiothoracic ratio. This is already in previous slide discussed. Thus keep in mind that cardiomegaly is contributed by the cardiac chamber enlargement. Now chamber enlargement. Right arterial enlargement. In right arterial enlargement, we can see there is prominent bulging of the right heart border on PA view. Now right ventricular enlargement. On right ventricular enlargement, there is rounding and upliftment of the cardiac chamber on PA view. The rounding and upliftment of the right border of the heart. Similarly, on lateral view, there is retrosternal fullness. In right ventricle, there is a rounding and upliftment of the apex of the heart. While in left ventricle, the apex of the heart is displaced towards inferiorly and laterally. This is right, and this is the left ventricle enlargement. We will be discussing in later slide. Now, left arterial enlargement. Left arterial enlargement. We barely view left arterial in normal, while in left arterial enlargement there is double density. This is the density of the atrium, left atrium. This is the density of the right atrium. So there is double density sign. The left atrium is enlarged. It is very difficult, and we have to very particularly in looking for this double density sign. And there is also upliftment of the left arterial appendage. This is left arterial enlargement, which is also prominent. And similarly, there is occlusion of the left main stem bronchus. Left omnivorous bronchus is also occluded, so there is broadening of the carinal angle. Now, left arterial enlargement. On left arterial enlargement, the left artery which is located more posteriorly and superiorly of the in comparison of the chamber of the heart. This is more prominent in left arterial enlargement in lateral view. Now, left ventricular enlargement. In left ventricular enlargement on PA view, we have already discussed the apex of the heart is more displaced inferiorly, and while in right ventricular enlargement, the apex of the heart is displaced upward. So this is the main difference between the left ventricular enlargement and right ventricular enlargement in PA view. Similarly, on lateral view, there is posterior displacement of the posterior inferior border of the heart. The left ventricle is located posteriorly and inferiorly. So the border formed by this left ventricle is more prominent and it is displaced more posteriorly and inferiorly. So always keep in mind. Now, great vessels, positions and size. We have already discussed about the relative position of the great chambers and the great vessels. Now we'll be discussing about the relative size and position of the great vessels. First, aorta. The aorta arises from the left ventricle. It goes arcing over the midline and over forming the arc in the aortic knuckles. And this is normal size of the aorta and aortic knuckle. Now, similarly, pulmonary artery. We'll be discussing the changes in these vessels. The pulmonary artery arises from the right ventricles, and it passes over the superiorly, and it divided to give rise to the right pulmonary artery and the left pulmonary artery, which again divides into two on the left side and the three branches on the right side. 1, 2, 3. And this left pulmonary artery is superior in comparison to the left right pulmonary artery. So left ala is superior in comparison to the right ala. Now aorta. The aorta, prominent aorta. See how the aortic arc and aortic knuckle is prominent. This is so prominent in previous comparison to the previous slide. Now, diminutive. We barely see the aorta and the aortic knuckle. This is diminutive aorta. Now, main pulmonary artery. We can see the pulmonary artery. This is obscuring the outer pulmonary window. This is pulmonary artery. Look on the left side, how prominent on the left pulmonary artery. Now, concave. In case there is concavity, concavity on the outer pulmonary window, there is pulmonary artery is barely perceivable. Now, pulmonary vascular pattern. We have already discussed about the vascular pattern on superior, middle, and inferior zone, and middle, intermediate, and lateral zone, how they changes. Now we can see about the vascular changes with the venous and pulmonary arterial hypertension. Now we can see this is normal. We have already discussed about the normal. There is tapering of the vessels from the hilar toward the periphery. Similarly, there is increased vascular prominence from the apex toward the vessel of the lungs. Now see here how there is a increase in vascular prominences of the pulmonary branching, and there is also the interlobular thickening. Now on lateral view, this is the normal how the pulmonary vascular pattern. See this shadow, this opacity is of pulmonary vasculature, and how the pulmonary vasculature is more prominent, and this opacity, this marking are increased in pulmonary hypertension. Now, in comparison to this normal pulmonary vascular pattern, we can see barely perceivable. The pulmonary vascular pattern are barely perceivable on both sides. So this is a decreased pulmonary vascular pattern. This is also known as oligomania. Now, decrease. This is also on lateral view. You can also see in comparison to the normal. This is also decreased pulmonary vascular pattern. This is also known as oligomania, pulmonary oligomania. Now, venous congestion. In comparison to the normal vascular pattern, we can see there is an increase in vascular prominence and interlobular thickening. There is septal thickening. We can see there is the linear opacities emerging from the hilar, and there is interseptal thickening. This is due to venous congestion. Now this is increased arterial flow. In any increased arterial flow, we can see there is a prominence of the pulmonary veins, pulmonary vessels. We can see how prominent is the pulmonary artery. Descending pulmonary artery is more than 17 millimeters. So this is the case of the pulmonary hypertension or increased pulmonary arterial flow. With respect to this, is also increase in the vascular patterns. More even on the periphery they are more prominent, and even on the apex they are also more prominent, and this are discordant to the normal vascular pattern. There is venous congestion. On venous congestion, we can see there is the interlobular septal thickening in the venous congestion, while in the pulmonary artery hypertension, the descending pulmonary artery is more in diameter, that is more than 17 millimeter. But this is not clear cut differentiation between the venous congestion and the in the arterial flow. However, in venous congestion, there is increase in the septal thickening. Septal thickening. We will also be discussing later about the Corley lines associated with the venous congestion. Now, venous congestion, we see about the perihilar edginess. This is associated with the venous congestion. This is usually obscene in the arterial hypertension. And similarly, alveolar edema. The alveolar edema, in alveolar edema, the fluid is filled in the alveolar duct, alveolar sacs, and alveoli. And this we can see how the patchy pattern. This is associated with the pulmonary venous hypertension or pulmonary congestion, venous congestion. And similarly, look about the redistribution encephalization. In normal lungs, the vessels are more prominent in compared to the apical vessels. See how the vessels in the apical vessel are comparable. So there is gradual increase in prominence of the vessel on the apical portion of the lungs in the middle zone, lung zone also. So this is gradual cephalization. Cephalization means more prominence of apical and middle lung zone vessels, while in normal only the vessel portion are more prominent, and also they are also visible, but they are not comparable. There is on normal lungs there is gradual increase in prominence of the vessels from the apical to the vessel, but in this X-ray they are comparable. The upper lung zone and middle lung zone and the lower lung zone vessel are comparable. So this is cephalization. That is increase in prominence of the vessel on the upper lung zones, and we can also see this is prominence of the vessels in the apical portion of the lungs. This is the zoom portion of this X-ray. Now, venous congestion. Now, for venous congestion, the two typical findings, that is Corley lines and Corley lines. What are the Corley lines? The Corley lines are due to interstitial edema. The Corley lines, we can see there is the fine linear, there is a linear opacity extending from the pleura to the hilar region. This is Corley line. Corley line extends from the periphery to the central, that is hilum. There is more. More in length, and they are more complete from the periphery to the hilar. While Corley lines, these are pleura base. Look about the Corley lines. They are pleura base. This is the pleura base lines. These pleura base lines are only a few centimeters, 1 or 2 or 3 centimeters, and these are more typical of the interstitial edema or pulmonary venous hypertension. Corley lines are more specific for the pulmonary venous congestion. Always keep in the mind, this is very important feature. While Corley lines is not so specific, however, they are more prominent than Corley lines. Always search for the Corley lines. This is more peculiar finding of the interstitial edema and the venous congestion. Now, pericardium and the other abnormalities. In pericardium, we have to show about the counter of the pericardium and the calcification and the opacities associated. In the firstly, pericardium. The pericardium is overlying sac-like structure of the throughout the heart, and it's see about the counter of the pericardium, which closely approaches to the right border of the heart and the left border of the heart. And when the pericardium sorts about the linear or speckled calcification. Here is a linear or there is a curvilinear fine throughout the border of the heart. This is more peculiar of the myocardial calcification. This is on the apex, so this is left ventricular apical aneurysm calcification. Now, search about this. What's about this on X-ray? There is a speckled type of calcification. This is not so much regular in comparison to this. So this is speckled, and this is more non-linear or speckled type. So this is chunky or ugly type calcification. This is peculiar of the pericardial calcification. Now, the cardiomegaly. Don't get confused about the always the enlargement of the cardiac side is due to the enlargement of the cardiac chambers. When there is pericardial effusion, the cardiac side can also be increased. But what's the difference? We have already discussed about the chamber enlargement. What is the peculiar feature of chamber enlargement? And now we'll be discussing about the pericardial effusion. In pericardial effusion, there is a globular shadow of the heart, globular enlargement of the shadow of the heart, which assumes more or like by the water bottle. This is the water bottle, and see out the heart margin are closely resembling about the water bottle, and there is also increase in the cardiac thoracic ratio. Note about the cardiac thoracic ratio. This is increase, and this is the peculiar finding. There is no peculiar finding of the chamber enlargement, right? See about how the heart is diffusely enlarged, the cardiac side is diffusely enlarging, like sac-like or money bag or water bottle signs. Now prosthetic heart valve. There are different cardiac surgeries. I know we place artificial bulbs. Don't get confused about the calcification in the bulbs is a dilemma. Search about there is also a surgical scar mark on clinical agency, and there is presence of the sternotomy wires. So always keep in mind and search about the peculiar site of the aortic valves and the mitral valve. This is the aortic valve prosthesis and the mitral valve prosthesis. Usually the conscious see the aortic valve is superior in comparison to the mitral valve. We have already discussed about the image line from the hilus to the apex. So this is the superior the aortic valve and the mitral valve. So in the lateral way, this is the aortic valve. This is the place of the aortic valve, and this is the place for the mitral valve. And the line is this image line extended from the apex to the ila. So this is superior the aortic valve and the mitral valve. Now these are the picture depiction of the summary of our project lecture. This is the P view. This is the lateral view of the chest and the heart. So let's have a revision of the chamber of the heart and the great vessels. And always keep in mind about the summary of these structures. Always be precise about the location of the chambers and great vessels, and you will only be able to discover the pathologies. The pathology will be discussing probably on the further classes, I hope so. But these are not very essential in the radiology section, but these are very essential on the medicine classes. Will be following in the next session or in practical classes if it's needed. So let's have a revision. This is the right border is formed by the right atrium. The inferior border is formed by the right ventricle. The lateral border, so most portion of the lateral is formed by the left ventricle, and this only a portion of is the left atrium or left atrial appendage is visible, and this is the shadow of the left atrial. This is more posterior, and let's about the great vessels. From the right atrium arises the superior vena cava. There is superior vena cava, shadow of the superior vena cava. In the source for about the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery arises from the right ventricles. This is pulmonary artery and branching of the pulmonary artery. In the more lower branching of the pulmonary artery, this is the descending pulmonary artery. Keep in about the mind about the descending pulmonary artery diameters will be less than 17 millimeters, and this is the aorta, which arises from the left ventricles and is curves towards the midline and superiorly, and get the aortic knuckles is bends downward and gives the pulmonary cell. This is aortic knuckle, and this aorta and pulmonary from the outer pulmonary window. And similarly on the lateral view, we can see cardiac right chambers of the heart more anterior, while atrium is superior. So this is the right atrium is from the anterior border of the heart, and this is the left ventricle more posterior and inferior, while right atrium is more anterior to the left atrium, while most superior portion of the heart is formed by the left atrium. And from the right ventricle emerges the pulmonary artery and the branches. How is branches? This is right artery, pulmonary artery, left pulmonary artery, and from the left ventricle emerges the aorta. And this is the curve of the aorta, and how it descends in front of the spines and vertebra. And we can also see the bifurcation of the trachea, and this ties with the two major bronchi. And always keep in the mind about these chambers and the great vessels. Firstly, learn about the normal anatomy and revise until you will detect the pathology. So we'll be able to detect the pathology. If you have any queries, you can ask. Or there is a MBS radiology group on the Viber group. So most of you are about 60 to 80 students. You can ask the question in that group also. or if any queries, you can ask. Thank you. हजुर Any question? Rebellion by Samish Paudel. Hope by
केही बुझिनँ